This video is part of a series of 16 presentations by Crystal Whitten, PhD, based on her book, Country Living. See the video description for availability. The free videos can be found as parts 361 to 376 at www.preparingforthetimeoftrouble.com.
As we begin to explore the possibility of locating from the cities to the country, let's first explore how country living may impact our children's education. Children who have lived in the city are now locating to the country, and obviously they don't have city-type influences in the country. And children are going to initially really miss many aspects of the city: their friends, the activities, the food, the fun, lots of things. They're going to miss going to the mall. They're going to miss going to the races, or they're going to miss sleepovers with their friends. These are all things that you're going to have to anticipate, and you're going to have to find ways to counter. And so some things that might be important are to reverse engineer what they've been exposed to, what they've been indoctrinated. Find out the values that your children actually have, because they're going to miss certain things. And so whatever it is that they're missing or wanting, you may have to offer something, an alternative for. So for example, if they miss hanging out with their friends, now you're going to have to find ways to socialize them while you're living in the country. And that may actually involve finding other people who are living in the country and have children. And it may mean that you involve your kids in functional, useful activities. So for example, when children get together, we always think they need to play. Play is important. Well, play can actually be doing useful things as well. So children, especially young children, really don't need 40, 50, 100, 200 toys. They may need 5 to 10 toys. Maybe they have building blocks. Maybe they have Legos. Maybe they have puzzles. Maybe they have a toy truck or a train set or something like that. Those can be useful. Maybe they build a model ship. Maybe they build a model spaceship. So these can be useful because they're teaching eye-hand coordination. But just to play for the sake of playing, I'm not sure children actually require that for their development. Children, what they do require is to feel useful, like they're a useful part of the household. And they need to learn tasks. And they can learn adult-type tasks in stages. So they learn the simple tasks that lead to the medium task, that lead to the more complex task. And so an example of something that you might give the children to do is to set up a park course. And a park course is an exercise course, and it can be 100 yards, and it could be a quarter mile, it could be a mile, depending on the property you have. It could go around your house, it could go up and down the driveway, across, it could go throughout the entire yard. But a park course is usually some kind of trail, and about every 50 feet to 100 yards, however big it is, you do a different activity. So at one place, you might have a pull-up bar. At the next stop, you might have a stretching place. At the next place, you might have a swing. At the next place, you have jump ropes. At the next place, you have weights. And so as you go along the park course, you stop at each place, you do your activity, and when you're done, or maybe you repeat it 2 or 3 times. Another meaningful task might be to plant seeds, to plant a garden, to build a greenhouse. These are all great activities for children to be involved with. We're going to learn a little bit later, children as young as 4 or 5 years of age can actually start a business. And this business might be seed saving. It might be making a little bit of food to sell at church, to sell at the local bakery, and we'll talk about specific examples here in a little bit. But meaningful tasks that promote the family's goals and also provide socialization and time with other children are really important. Let's talk about homeschooling for just a minute. I'm an educator, and a lot of times I think the most successful education occurs when you're immersed in a subject. And children always have a favorite topic, something they just love. It could be math, it could be art, it could be reading, it could be baking, cooking, woodworking, car mechanics. It could be learning medicine, it could be learning first aid. There's always going to be something that each child just has an affinity for doing. And so you want each of your children to be doing that on a regular basis, something that they really love. And so I think immersing yourself. Now, not everyone probably likes reading and writing and grammar, but everyone needs to learn it anyway, because you can't really be a successful adult without knowing how to read, knowing good grammar, and having read a little bit. Read biographies, read the Bible, read any of the Bible writers that you're interested in reading. It's really important to do that. And so taking a week to just immerse yourself in reading and grammar and learning about sentence structure and learning about making an outline, learning about filling in the outline, learning about figuring out the plot of a book, learning who are the important characters, how do those characters enter, how do they exit, do they stay in there for the whole length of the book, learning about poetry, learning about let's say learning haiku, learning syntax. These are all really important things to do. You want your children to be successful adults. This is one of the foundations of being successful. Children should, if you're immersing yourself in reading and grammar and writing, they should probably be reading 3 to 5 books every day. Now the books can be short, but when they're done with reading the book, you need to ask them questions. Who was your favorite character? What was the favorite part of the book? What was your favorite story? Did you like the ending? How would you have ended it differently? Did you like the plot? Is it a Christian plot? What were the Christian themes throughout the book? These are important things that you can do with your children as you're homeschooling them. And maybe the next week you do math and you immerse yourself in math. Maybe you call up a surveyor, the man or woman that surveyed your property before you moved on to your homestead, and say, hey, I have 3 or 4 kids. Maybe you're going to get the neighbor's kids as well. And we would like to spend a half a day, a couple hours, maybe a whole day with you, watching you survey land. And be willing to pay for this, because he's probably going to be taking extra time with you. Now, he may or may not accept your money. That's another, you don't know. But be willing to offer money for understanding and for him providing a window into his profession, his expertise. So there's lots of people that your kids could spend time with and learn math. Maybe they spend time with a bookkeeper. Maybe they spend time on a cash register. There's lots of things you can do to teach children. Maybe they help count the church money. Maybe they put it into the bank. Maybe they do the checking. Maybe they balance the checkbook. So these are all important tasks for children to learn. Maybe when it's tax time, you bring in the accountant. You're paying the accountant. Can you show my children how you do our taxes? Or maybe you do the taxes and you show them. These are important things for them to see. They probably need to know their parents' income and where the income goes and how that gets broken down. There's lots of ways to teach math. And having said that, you can actually introduce more complex math concepts. You can introduce them, you can make the definition, you can introduce geometry, you can introduce calculus, you can introduce physics and certain theories of physics. These are important things to do at a very early age. You're not necessarily teaching them Einstein's equation, but you're referring to them. What does it cover? What is it about? What are the 3 laws of thermodynamics? That's something they can memorize at a very early age, at 5 years old. There's very simple ways to go over the 3 laws of thermodynamics. But immersing in one topic for a week at a time or several days at a time, I think can be really useful and valuable for homeschooling. Always model the behaviors that you desire in your children. So if you desire patience and kindness and faithfulness and kindness and humility, these are the things that you need to be modeling, and not losing your temper in front of your children. And then finding out what each child wants to model, what's important to them, what are the fruits of the Spirit they want to work on. This is really important to be discussing on a regular basis. It's very important to avoid hypocrisy. And hypocrisy can kill the relationship you have with your children so fast, and you may not even know it, because children are not necessarily going to confront you with your hypocrisy, although they might, because children are great hypocrisy detectors. But parents don't always want to hear this, and it can be very painful, in fact. And let me give you a few examples. If your kids see you speaking nicely and kindly with people at church, with your family, your relatives, your loved ones, your friends, and then as soon as you get in the car and you're out of earshot from these same people, you say mean and hurtful things about them, or you say things that undermine them or put them down, however subtle it may be, you're giving your children, what you're trying to do is make yourself look better at someone else's expense. And that's not Christ-like. And so as you're trying to teach values to your children, if they see that you are unable to live those same values, they will eventually reject those values. And that is why a lot of children, adult children, are out of the church. They just couldn't stand the hypocrisy they saw with their parents. They couldn't tolerate the hypocrisy they saw at church and within church people, within the church members. And again, this can be very damaging. So for example, and I'm not saying this is true in any case, but I'm sure it has been at some point, maybe the head elder is abusing his children. But no one knows it. His wife doesn't know it. He's abusing his daughter. He's doing terrible things. But when he goes to church, he gets all kinds of accolades and people look up to him, and he's up front at the pulpit, he's praying, he's offering communion, and his daughter sees that and she learns to hate the church. So these are the kind of things that happen in families, and you may or may not know that your children are observing these things and seeing them. In fact, you may not even know that you're doing that the words you speak about other people are sending the wrong message to your children. So it's really important to avoid hypocrisy at all costs. And the true Christian won't do that anyway. Prioritize children's education, but avoid catering to their weaknesses. So if they don't like to read, that's what they probably need to do. Don't give them the option of not reading. Give them very simple reading tasks and build on that. Build on their successes. Because when children have failures, it takes 10 to 20 successes to overcome how they felt about that failure and how it made them feel and how it affected them. So it's very important to have successes. One of my former students, she has children, and she was telling me about one of her kids and how he was not getting his homework done, and she said, well, he just needs to experience the results. And I said to her, well, he also needs to experience successes in doing his homework. And if that means you need to sit down and spend an hour or two with him to have those successes, it's really important. And this was when he was a small child, and now he's an adult. He's actually a student at one of our universities. And I think he's taking physics as a major. So it's really important that children are successful in learning at every point, and that you're helping them at every stage and not assuming that they're having a success. They need to be demonstrating it, and not just with a test. In fact, a test can be, show me what you know about a certain topic. Show me how you would write this story. How would you write the story of Jonah? And have them write it. They can read it in the Bible and then turn around and have them write the story in their own words. And how would they write it with a similar type outcome? So these are things that children need to be able to demonstrate. Can they read an entire book to you? It doesn't have to be a long book, but can they read it with the right emphasis, with the right syntax, with everything coming together? Do they sound good? Are they stuttering? Are they stammering? Are they saying words the wrong way, the wrong emphasis? So it's important to have them demonstrate their competency. So once they're competent there, they can move on to the next level. Grammar is really important. Doing sentence structure, doing an outline, filling in the outline. What is the plot? Who are the main characters? Who are the minor characters? Who comes and goes? Who stays in the story? So these are all important things to teach. Is there a biblical theme to the story? What is that theme? Is it kindness? Is it honesty? These are important. Children need to learn to respect adults and learn that their wants and desires are not always at the top of the adult's priority list. And so children do not always need to be catered to. There's times where they do need to entertain themselves and do something quietly while adults are doing something in another room. This is an important thing to teach, that they can entertain themselves, that they know what to do when they're given time on their own. And don't just assume that they can structure their own time. You're going to need to give them ideas for structuring that time. So that's really important. Now, kids do have needs that need to be at the top of the priority list, and that's a need for love, for care and affection, to feel like they belong, to feel like they are just as important as everyone else in the family. Children need to be appreciated for their strengths, and their weaknesses need to be turned into strengths. So we don't want the child to have weaknesses. We want them to feel confidence. And we want that confidence to be in Christ, that we can do all things through Christ. That needs to be the message that children get. Now, obviously, some children are going to be better at doing certain things than others. It doesn't mean that they shouldn't. Again, we're not going to cater to their weaknesses. They still need exposure. Maybe they're never going to excel in math and physics, but they're really good with their hands. And so they're still going to learn math and physics, because down the line, maybe that will be something they could excel at. Maybe right now their brain development is just not in a place where it's compatible with that. So, but down the line, it's like, oh, all my mechanical work on this diesel engine, I now understand these theories over here, about mechanics and engineering. And so maybe I should look at mechanical engineering, and maybe I'm a terrific car mechanic, but maybe this is now something when I'm 18, 19, 20, I'm thinking, wow, this is a new vista that is open to me now. So you always want to plant the seeds with your children.
To be aware of new videos like this one, be sure to subscribe to the Preparing for the Time of Trouble channel. For more free videos and downloadable audio podcasts, as well as handouts, go to www.preparingforthetime-of-trouble.com. preparingforthetimeoftrouble.com. Topic categories include recordings of live seminar presentations, country living, sustainable gardening, homestead remedies, how to be self-sufficient when the grid goes down, wild edible and medicinal plants, hydrotherapy, and end-time Bible prophecies. To take advantage of these free resources, go to preparingforthetimeoftrouble.com.